He left that chance to far corner, and because of what's happened so far in this session, Ruiza just felt so confident taking it on with reds everywhere. And it looks like he's going to be 3 clear.
Again, this all came in directly off a great long red from Ruiza, the red on the pink spot that he knocked in, to then lay the snooker in behind the yellow. That earned him this chance. Very clever play, very patient. Didn't try and push the boat out, didn't need to.
Red stays out, but the damage done. And plenty of damage done by Wu Yize in this session. He's won all 3 frames. So Zhao Xingtong struggling to stay in this event. Next frame is huge for him because he trails 7-4. Yeah, another interesting frame. To say though, Zhao Xingtong have been in already at this point. In fact, he had that early chance, didn't he, when Wu Yize played the safety, left the red on. But this was, in the end, a key shot because he allowed him to lay this snooker, and this set up the chance that came to win the frame.
Yeah, it was one of those horrible situations for Zhao where he really had no room for error with that escape. Just missed it slightly too shy of pace on the first attempt, and then the second attempt left this red to the yellow pocket, which proved to be the final shot. The chance that Ruiza managed to develop, he took them really well, and he's looking good.
(7-4) it is to Wu Yize. He needs 2 more frames to reach the final of the International Championship, and he would have, of course, Saturday off, and no doubt would have a look at the Higgins-Maguire match. Do you feel Zhao Xingtong's got to win this frame, really? He has had chances. Of course, the first frame he looked poised to clear, but even after that, he's been in, he's just been losing position.
It was quite a glaring error that Xingtong made when he was in amongst them, wasn't it? In the previous frame, it was such a routine shot on the pink that was on the black spot to just chip the red away and continue the break. You would never have predicted that it'd have missed the contact or just grazed off the red and ended up being on nothing. Such a good break builder that really was a basic shot for him, for anyone really. He's going to have to dig deep now in this match.
Yeah, we've kind of said before that in the World Championship, you always seem to be leading from the front. wasn't sort of required to make these comebacks at the Crucible. Left another potential opener here. Oh dear. Well, not nice switch finish, to say the least.
Well, he would have loved to have avoided that red on the top cushion. Just a little flick off it, just changed the course of the cue ball. With a little smile to himself because he's been right in amongst those reds and no obvious way out. The red that is between the pink and blue might be causing him some problems to go 2-3 cushions. Maybe yellow would be the obvious choice. Can he get money that he's elected to play the pink? Feels that he could just tickle up to the pink and leave nothing. Doesn't want to miss it topside though, there's reds available.
Where it seems the table's kind of, the reds are open within about 2 shots. So it just makes the safety more important, particularly with, you know, 2 such great long potters. Some of the long balls that Ruiz has knocked in, they were the ones that Jiang Tong was knocking in great regularity over the course of a month actually in Sheffield, not just the Crucible but the 4 rounds of qualifying had to come through first. Yeah, I think both of these players are a great example to any young player out there of how really to approach snooker nowadays. Go for your shots. You know, all the hours of practice on the table. Eventually learn the all-round game and look at ways in which Ruiz could maybe improve so very young. If he was in his corner, you'd absolutely be telling him to go for them. As soon as he gets sight at a long one, go for it. That match sharpness, that steel becoming hard to beat, that will take care of itself over the years. He'll learn ways in which he can win matches when perhaps those long ones aren't always going in, but at the minute they are going in, and that's the difference. They have been all week. As you look at this performance this week from Ruiz, okay, he'll want more, he won't want his tournament to end here. He scored heavy. That's what you've got to do. But all season, really, the results in previous hasn't been past the last 16 of any real ranking tournaments, and you wonder why. You wonder why, because of the level that he's reached this week. Why they're not happening all the time. So tough out there. Example of what I'm saying, the safety's got to be better than that. He's knocked in tougher balls than this already tonight. Is he on this blue? He sort of stopped to have a look where this cue ball's going to stop. Just about. played it well, so it just feels like the Zhao Xingtong challenge is wilting a little. This is not absolutely straightforward. Black and pink tied up for the moment.
Is a huge frame for Xingtong. Little interval to come after this, and it seems unlikely that Wu Yize wouldn't get at least one chance in the remaining frames to get this match won. It'll certainly have to be lights out snooker from the world champion if he's going to turn this one around. It's been quite a weak performance this session so far from the world champion. As you say, the safety shots haven't been played well, but when he's got in, a couple of really poor positional shots that he's played.
Yeah, it's been similar actually. The Shanghai Masters, which was the big invitation event, the first tournament he played this season, he got to the semis there. He played well during the week, and he was framed in front against Kyron Wilson, 5-4, first to 10. But again, he just didn't perform in the second session. In fact, he didn't win another frame, lost 10-5.
That'll be the biggest disappointment, won't it? Because the first session is all about just putting yourself in a good position coming into the evening, trying to keep in touch or try and create a lead going into that final session. He did well to come out of it 4 each, Zhao, and you kind of expected him to maybe kick on. I think he'll have certainly, well, I know he'll have been the happier of the two. But it's Wu Yize who's looking very happy at the minute. It's all going his way, and he's playing very well with it.
Pink spot held, so the only other one available, the yellow. I'm sure it's a source of great inspiration for the other young Chinese players when Zhao won the World Championship. Such a historic moment for snooker in this part of the world. They were hungry for success for themselves as well.
In recent years, actually, no doubt, has provided a lot of inspiration for the young Chinese players. Zhou Long is knocking on the door, isn't he? Si Jiahui, of course, had a great couple of runs to the latter stages of the World Championship. Big tournaments. Of course, Li Paifan has ranked in the 80s, went on to lift the Scottish Open title, and he's looking to do the same, but he was going nicely there. First real mistake we've seen from him this evening. But make no mistake, Zhao Xingtong is going to need help if he's going to get back into this game, and could that be a moment?
You know, we've not seen many errors like that from Wu Yize. Can Zhao Xingtong, well, I was going to say, can he capitalise, but it's gone wrong immediately. Done nothing here. So can he get a good safety in here? Just get him in a bit of trouble.
Yellow's a good target. Thin off the pink. Get the pace right. Good should get right in behind that yellow. Not quite.
Well, this passage of play now feels huge, doesn't it? Because we had a chance for 8-4. 7-5 is still a good lead, but he had a chance to really almost put the match to bed there. As he left the gap here. Seems to have.
Well, the red's gone in, but he needs a good shot on this pink. He's not got a great angle on it. It would help if he could just drop this pink in the middle and play a little holding cannon to the blue. That then would leave him a chance at a red. He would have loved to have caught it full. It's just not happening. Things just really aren't happening for the world champion.
No, and time's beginning to run out.
Again, he's really struck that like a dream, that red. Caught it perfect. Almost a delayed screw to just find a wider line off the red to get nice on this blue. Couldn't have placed it any better with his hand. Already nicely in front in this frame. Surely now he isn't going to break down.
Well, that opening frame of the night looking even bigger now. We'll never know what would happen after that. You know, he might have still have won all the frames tonight, Will Yizer, but the fact is Zhao Xintong was perfectly poised to clear for the second frame running. He'd done it in the last of the morning session. Ended up missing the brown, using the rest, and, well, Will Yizer has done the rest. When he got to the two finals last season, a lot of us said, you know, his time will come. It's easy to say that, isn't it? He's got to do it, and it's a very tough tour. So many great players, you know, every ranking event this season won by somebody different. But he is starting to do it now in this tournament. He's played outstanding snooker the last couple of days, and he's firmly on top here. Zhao Xintong will have to win the last 5 frames, simple as that, after the interval.
Yeah, and I just hope for Wu Yizer's sake he doesn't allow himself to think that he's won this game just yet. He's one away from victory, but stranger things have happened. Got to stay alert.
Yeah, I remember Stephen, nearly coming from 9-0 down in the World Qualifying last year.
Oh, Dave, I've only just got off over that traumatic experience. What a waste of time that turned out to be.
Against the sheriff, of course, Anthony Hamilton. Great drama. So it's not over till it's over, but Zhao Xintong at the moment just isn't playing the snooker that suggests there's going to be a comeback. And Wu Yizer looking super confident. What a great mini session for him. He's won all 4 games and go to the interval from reaching the final of the International Championship. Wu Yizer's made his move here in Nanjing, and world champion Zhao Xintong under all sorts of pressure, trailing 8-4. Well, as I say, things can turn, and intervals, of course. I mean, Wu Yizer will tell you this after the match with Trump. If everything's going to turn a match, it's going to be an interval maybe, but we'll see when the... against Xiaozing Tong.
cue ball over near the green pocket. Use the blue to cover the red by the right corner pocket. But there again, that's where we're all going wrong. Far too negative. When you can pot like this, boy, why not go for them?
Well, he certainly can't be accused of going into his shell after the interval and worrying about the winning line. Quite the opposite. Well, now what?
Well, there's only one shot. He's got to pot the green. Another fantastic red. As you say, if you're in his corner at the interval, you just say, continue doing what you're doing. Go for your shots. But there's a player out there in the arena. There's a little bit of doubt in your mind, but clearly no doubt for Wu. This is just a masterclass in knocking balls in off the lampshade. And there's so much work to be done in this frame really now. Look at the position of the balls. They've all gone a little awkward. But it seems like it doesn't matter where he leaves his cue ball, he's going to knock one in.
Sort of hesitate, saying the break might be over. I know one thing, I think tomorrow might be a bit different. Higgins, Maguire. I mean, a couple of percentage players there. I'm not sure we're going to see lights out in this way. Of course, they're both very heavy scorers, but might be a little bit more safety.
And now what does he do? Red by the left corner, well pottable. Unless the cue ball is, well, it would seem pretty much in the jaws of that yellow pocket. So just looking to tickle up to the black. Couldn't do anything there. And it was a good 8. It really was as good an 8 as you'll ever see. Wow. That's a great red. That really is. Felt like last chance saloon for Zhao Xingtong. It's do or die now. He's got no room for error. And that had to go in. That was a fantastic red from underneath this top cushion. But now he's faced with the problem of solving this little puzzle. Very messy table.
Black problem he's got though, he knows at any point his next shot could be his last one in this match. But he's only going to play one way, isn't he? He's going to play the way he plays. He's not going to try and tie everything up suddenly. It's just a question of whether it actually works, whether he can put something together and at least try and apply pressure.
red along the top cushion. Pink and black available. That's a great shot again. He was leaving the world there, had that stayed out. Well, he's looking for any sort of inspiration to get going here, Zhao Xingtong, and this could be it. He's managed to get the high value colours, the pink and black, in play from a position where he thought he'd do well to score 20. Now he's got a realistic chance to win the frame.
There's already been about 4 shots in this break that you would sort of categorise as pressure balls that he just hasn't played in that way at all. Now really needs to focus and try and put this frame on the board.
Well, he's not done anything wrong here, Wu Yize. This has just been brilliant from the world champion to just get himself into this position. Get the balls in play. The opening red that he dropped in full length of the table into the green pocket. A nice shot by any means to play. Not a shot you would ever practice either. It was brilliant.
So red the colour needed and from a pretty unlikely starting position. It's been a very timely and well crafted break from Zhao Xingtong. Not least because he's 8-4 down in the match, so frame from defeat. You know, as I say early on, there were several pots that could have been his last shot in the tournament, but he's kept it going superbly. Needs more of the same, of course.
Still a chance of a century break on here for Zhao, and it would have been the most unlikeliest century you'll ever see. At least when he came to the table.
Well, the break ends at 81, but it was a terrific contribution. Exactly what he needs to stay in this match. He's still in trouble, but Zhao Xingtong wins the first frame after the interval to trail 8-5.
keeps knocking them in, and here's another one, another fantastic red, and you thought maybe that's going to be end of break. Cue ball in the jaws of the green pocket, but slotted the green into the middle with ease, and then this is ultimately where he came unstuck. Had to just nestle up to the black, left the cue ball tight underneath this cushion, and thought he's played a pretty good containing safety shot there. Nothing for Zhao, but how wrong were we? He drops the long red in, and from this position, you look at the table, there's no way he can win the frame at this visit, but he does. Somehow, just keeps potting them in, knocking them in from anywhere. Got the pink and black in play very quickly, and the rest was history. The sort of break that he needed. Couldn't quite make the century break, but a fantastic break nevertheless.
So it's 8-5, these frames rattling along, and Zhao Tong coming to the party with that 81 to stay in this match. And that's the thing, it's been such an open game, you might only need, 4 chances to actually win the match, although he's in trouble, theoretically. Wu Yize knows from personal experience that these things are never quite done. Of course, he was 8-2 down in that English Open final himself, wasn't he, to Neil Robertson, took it all the way to 8-7.
That's why it was just so important for Wu Yize to go to that interval and stay focused, stay in the zone. Especially when someone like Zhao Tong is in the opposite corner, you never are safe out there, because he can just knock them in off the lampshades, as we saw in the previous frame. How he managed to win that frame in one visit when he came to the table, I've got no idea. But that long one went astray and by quite some distance. Got to stay patient, Wu Yize. Keep going for his shots, but doesn't need to be reckless. Surprised to see the players have a little nod to one another for a re-rack. That red in balk is causing problems. I don't think any player on the tour likes a frame like this, where you're trying to get the cue ball back to this top cushion. The reds will eventually open. Zhao can't really risk playing an aggressive shot to bring the cue ball back to this top cushion for fear of pushing a red over a pocket. Could potentially be his last shot. Just don't see how this frame goes anywhere. With the oldest red, he needs to be pretty straight on it. He was, and he took the decision to attack. Felt that really the only red he could leave would maybe the one he was playing, and he hasn't left it. the issue that Zhao has got here is because he's tight underneath that baulk cushion, he'll be queuing down on the cue ball and he just lacks that control by playing it that way. And he's concerned that if he doesn't strike it absolutely perfect, there is a chance that he could leave the red in the middle of the table to the middle pocket potentially, so just assessing all his options. Of course, moving the red away from the green just resolves the stalemate really, but he's concerned that he'll leave that red to middle, or at least leave an easy opportunity for Ruiza to play a telling shot, put Zhao in trouble.
To this, which is where the frame began.
Yeah, the only possible way that this is resolved is if someone eventually knocks a ball into the middle pocket. Zhao's got a chance to do that here. He's such a confident middle pocket player. He really does make that shot look so simple. Potting balls into middle bags at pace as well. Some tight underneath the top cushion, it's not easy.
No, and also he's 8-5 down in a best of 17 frame semi-final, so in theory there was pressure attached to it. I mentioned we saw Wu Yiza as a wildcard in this event. In fact, Tong, at the age of 15, he beat Ken Doherty as a wildcard in 2012. And then a year later, at the grand old age of 16, he beat Steve Davis in his home tournament. It has been a help, I think, for the Chinese players to have that experience as wildcards coming into these tournaments without rankings pressure and having the experience of playing top players. And we've seen so many players, of course, go on and do so well as professionals.
Yeah, as a player on the World Snooker Tour, when the draws come out for these Chinese tournaments, there's always some wildcard rounds, there's always some held over matches to be played at the venue, and I don't think as a professional you ever look forward to seeing your name drawn against a wildcard because you just know they're going to be good. Of course, this week we saw a 14-year-old Wang Jingzhong and a couple of great wins. Took Murphy the distance as well after beating Bayu Liu and Robbie Williams, 14 years of age. Looks some prospect.
26.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you might not have heard of the player before, and within about 3 shots you think, oh no, I'm in trouble. Anyway, Xiaoxing Tong now trying to get things into play. And this this is starting to look more promising for him, isn't it? You know, took the red on initially to middle, and he's now staying in. Earlier in the session, he was getting in, but he just wasn't controlling things. He was losing position, breaking down. Starting to apply pressure by going on the attack.
And it really is the best way to put pressure on your opponent, just a barrage of big breaks. It's what Louisa did to Neil Robertson in that English Open final last season. That would have been one of the greatest turnarounds we've ever seen, the way he played. And Zhao Xintong is going to need a bit of that as well here. Capable of it, there's no questions. But Louise has played so well in this game, you do fancy if he gets a good chance. He hasn't had a good chance since the interval, really, to get the match won. But you do fancy if he does get one that he might just take it. He's played well enough to. Just kind of feel like the shackles are off now for Xintong, and he plays such free snooker. He always looks like pressure doesn't really mean anything to him. He's able to just play the game. He's run out of position here. So 50 points in front. Still 7 reds left. There's plenty of life left in this frame yet. Nothing safe as well. Of safety shots. There is a red available to left corner at the back of the pack. He's knocked a few of these in today. Does Zhao really want to take a red on here? Cue ball is going into the other reds. He will need this red to go in. And it has done. That's a brilliant shot, because look at the damage he was doing. There was no doubt over that one in his mind, was there? He wasn't scared to attack then.
Was also nicely played. So 58 in front, looking good to pull another one back. Has been a very entertaining match. There's two players who just love going for their shots, and they get plenty. We'll need one more red here. Pull back to within 2 frames. This is where Wu Yize is going to be tested again, it seems. He wouldn't be human if
Those little thoughts hadn't come into his mind. So close to the winning line. But he's still in front.
Got interesting though, hasn't it? Because Xiaozing Tong going for his shots, looking confident, and has dominated the 2 frames since the interval. And this semi-final suddenly a lot closer. 8-6. Wu Yize is still one from the place in the final. So this was what looked like might be a re-rack, but Xiaozing Tong was in the mood for taking that on. And was looking good to kill the frame off in this visit, because he did break down eventually. It was here actually. This was a kind of shot to nothing, but didn't really play it well. There was still pressure on this red, but you wouldn't have known it the way he played it. And the black was good as well. And then it was just a question of keeping it going, which he did. So this is good stuff. Last 2 frames, he kept his head up. Maybe now starting to play his best snooker of the match, just at exactly the right time. Six, these frames flying by, because it was 8-4 to Wu Yize. He's still one away from victory, but Xiaozing Tong starting to look good now. Still got to keep it going. He's still potentially just 1 shot away from exiting the tournament, of course.
So touching ball just meant that Zhao could play into ball, purposely leaving Wu Yize sight at the pack of reds, wanting him to open them. Hoping that he pushes one towards a corner pocket, and he has done. He kind of set the trap there, Xiaozing Tong, and Wu Yize almost fell into it. He did fall into it because he's knocked the long red in. Disappointed that didn't get a favourable cannon there. No real control over where the cue ball was going. Can he pop this pink? He could. That's a great
great shot. I think he landed in the perfect position there. Got enough angle on the pink that he could avoid playing any sort of push shot because the cue ball was so close to the object ball. It just so happened that the contact he needed on the pink was actually the potting angle.
You are allowed to play safe, and that's what he's done. But he's starting to look dangerous again.
That's a better safety shot. Louisa. Found a nice line there where green and brown are certainly helping him. Black, bring the black into play. Cue ball back to balk. Doesn't want to cannon the brown. Bit of a gamble that. Didn't get the right line, didn't get the right contact on the red, so he's left the red. And in the process, push that black into play. That couldn't have been any kinder. What a difference it made. Xiaozing Tong catching the brown with the cue ball going into balk. If he misses the brown, it's a great shot, but the fact he caught it, it could be his last.
Yeah, this is, I guess, his first real chance now to get it won. Didn't make much impact on the last two frames, but knocks the second red in. More importantly, lands on the black. See how far he gets here. Would be one of his best ever victories in terms of the stage of the tournament. He's been in two finals, of course, but this is a bigger money event, a longer semi-final. He's playing not only a compatriot, but the world champion after all.
Well, that was a little nervy one. He had a lot of room for error there. In terms of his cue ball, he could afford to overrun that. He had green, blue available as well. Whatever you do, don't finish the wrong side of the black. But again, so confidently just knocks in the green. Much more difficult shot, made harder by the disappointment of not being the right side of the black, back in prime position. I want to make the same mistake twice. Just made sure to get the right side this time. And now I can look to get to work. The obvious red would be the red on the black spot at some point, get the black back on its own spot, but he doesn't really need to play that. He's got enough reds north of the pink that he can just continue to play on that black on the blue spot. Really, it's a great all game, the sort of chance you would expect him to take. Can he take it?
some week, hasn't it, for Wu Yize here in Nanjing. Knocked out former champion Zhang Han. He was 4-0 down to Judd Trump. 6 on the spin. Took apart Barry Hawkins 6-0. Looked like going 5-4 down here, but Zhao Xintong missed that brown, clearing up in the first frame of the night. That was a big moment. But it's all about just coping with the moment. That's what he's got to do, just focus on what he's doing, not try and think too much about what it means, because it's going to set up, if he's successful in this frame, a massive day on Sunday.
Now he desperately needs that black back on its own spot because he's running out of reds to get back up for the black. And each time the cue ball is just travelling further and further. The only way this chance can go wrong is if it just lands straight on the black or something. He really needs it back on its own spot where there's less distance to be covered. Yeah, that's why he's played on that red finally on the black spot. He's looking for an angle on it. This could be the match winner. Lower red, because he does have a greater angle on it, easy to get back up for the black. Again, he's just chasing his cue ball for a moment. Good strike here. Not sure what sort of angle he's got on this red 2 down from the pink. Looks pretty straight. He's got a little bit of angle, that's okay. Yeah, I'll be really pleased with how he struck that one. Don't really want to be playing those big shots at this stage of a game when there will definitely be a little bit of tension in the arm. You wouldn't know it looking at him. He's taken these really well so far. Just a few balls away now.
It's a good sign. As he checks the scores, 2 pots nearly, but it looks like he's going to do it in one visit rather than needing 3 or 4. Setting up nicely for the final, knowing that Chance Candy took it. Well, a little short. But as you can see, this black Zhao Xintong will need snookers. Two needed. He was coming back strongly, but Wu Yize responded here superbly. What a great all-round performance it's been from him today. In a match where there's been hardly any safety play, Zhao Xintong now needs to try and find a couple of snookers here successfully.
He's got a chance to pop this red and get back on the black. But it hasn't gone in. Now where's it going to finish? He has looked very good for this performance, Wu Yize. It was quite a tentative shot that he played on the final red to get up on that black that he needed. Would have loved another red, but Xiao Tong not able to knock it in. He's been brilliant this week. Ruiz definitely deserves his chance to win this title.
Oh dear. Clearly doesn't help. Best chance, surely, to try and pop two of the reds, lay the snooker on the remaining red. The free ball could come into play, and all the rest of it.
Not again.
Oh, that's the end. That's the end. So it is Wu Yize who books his place in Sunday's final here at the International Championship. He really took the game to the world champion, Xiao Tong, tonight. He won the first 4 frames. There was a mini recovery, but he put together an excellent break in what proved to be the last frame, and he is through to the 3rd ranking final of his career. He's going to take on either John Higgins or Steve Maguire as he attempts to win his first trophy. Such a dangerous talent. Is this the week he wins a ranking title? Well, he's 1 match away. Very entertaining match, wasn't it? And well, China have produced so many young talents in recent times. Xiao Tong right up amongst them, of course, but Wu Yize just seems to be growing in confidence all the time, and he has tomorrow off. I'm sure he'll be keeping an eye on the second semi-final to see whether he plays John Higgins or Steve Maguire. I'm sure he doesn't mind who comes through. He'll be looking forward to the occasion. And